Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We hope this will be a wonderful opportunity just to learn more about what we've learned in the last 2.5 years, to what it means to be a part of the National Executive Council for the Secular Franciscans in the United States. I think most of you probably understand a lot of this because you've served on councils before. And so it's just a council to a different group of people, a larger group than most fraternities. Most fraternities aren't 10,000 people, but our national fraternity is. So what a blessing it is to be able to serve you. And we've learned a lot. Certainly it was, it's been a privilege, but also a challenge at times. There's been some moments of perfect joy, but we think that there's many more opportunities for the embracing the love of this family and the responsibility of living the gospel and trying to share that good news with everybody. And so we thank you for being here tonight. Look forward to answering your questions or to hearing how others will be inspired to be, maybe put your name on the ballot for nominations. So I am Jane DeRose Bamman, and I have the privilege and honor of serving you as the national minister. And so we will begin. We do have kind of a formal presentation to start, and then we will have a time for questions. So I'm going to ask Susan to do you want to share the PowerPoint, or am I going to do that?
You can do it. If I can do it either way.
Go right ahead.
You'll know when you want me to do it. Sure. That's good.
Put it in presentation mode.
All right.
Let's see. I don't see it on your screen.
So go down.
Slideshow. Go to slideshow.
Click on slideshow.
From beginning.
See where
lower right corner, there's a little picture like a slide screen. There we go.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thanks for all the help, everybody.
Yep.
We love having assistants. So, okay. So again, this is a overview of what some of the responsibilities are for the National Executive Council. Next slide, please. So we're going, go back one, sorry.
Okay. I don't know how to go back.
Uh-oh. Scroll your wheel back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Susan. So we're going to share the ins and outs of serving on the council. We'll talk about the qualifications, the general duties, the skills that are helpful, and then maybe some expectations. You'll hear from each of us that are serving currently, and then we'll ask our nominations committee members to talk about the nominations process. And then if there are questions, we'll be happy to answer the questions. So next slide, please. We'll start with an opening prayer, which is actually a song, which I think most of you know about or have heard before. Susan, do you want to click and see if that'll... Did that start? Oh, there you go.
I think when Susan shared her screen, she may not have clicked on share sound.
It's not only that, it's a hyperlink. It's going to open in a different window on Susan's computer because it's not embedded into the PowerPoint.
Because I can hear it.
Yeah, no. but we can't.
Yeah. You have to stop sharing. And then is the window open on your screen that opened up to where the song is?
Hang on a minute.
Susan, when you click on share, make sure you click on share computer audio.
I
All right.
can't even hear you because.
No, you gotta click on
Wait,
share
sorry,
computer
send it
audio
again.
first. Yep, stop sharing for a second. Now click on share, but before you select the box, look in the upper right where it says share computer audio. You see the tiny little box?
Right side.
Yeah, the right side of that screen that popped up. It's hard to find. It's very small. Got it.
What do you want of me, Lord? Where do you want me to serve you? Where can I sing your praises? I am your song. Jesus, Jesus, you are the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, you are the way. I hear you call my name, Lord, and I am moved within me. Your spirit stirs my deepest self. Sing your songs in me. Jesus, Jesus, you are my Lord. Jesus, Jesus, you are the way.
Thank you, Susan. You want to go to the next slide?
That does again. Sorry. Okay.
Thank you. So this is our schedule for the National Elective Chapter. As many of you already know, the chapter will be September 9th through the 14th, and our elections will be held on Saturday, September 13th. We did form a nominations committee per the statutes, and we thank Teresa Pratt and Gigi Gregory for being willing to serve. Our statutes say that we need a slate 60 days prior to the election. And so that means we need nominations in order to meet that deadline. We thought it would be good to try and share, just get people thinking about qualifications. And so we're looking to the legislative documents, the general constitutions. There are various articles, and many of them apply to all levels of the council. Our international statutes that were adopted in November, there is new language. We do not have the English version out yet, but we are using the previous version that was available in English. They really didn't make any changes to the version that was adopted, but they still are planning to issue an official version in English soon. So Articles 8, 25 through 27 and 46 through 49 are applicable. And then in our national statutes, Articles 5, 6, 11, and 13 are applicable. So I encourage you to look at those. We do have them on our website. On this webpage where the guidelines, forms, and other resources are, if you look at the other resources, the OFS governing documents, click one more time, Susan. And when you click on that plus sign, you'll see each of the individual ones in English, and I do believe we have some of those also in Spanish available from the website. Okay, next slide, Susan. So the international statutes adopted some new qualifications for the various levels, and these bullet points here are for those serving on the national councils. You need to be a person who has been perpetually professed for at least 2 years, experience in animation or leadership in any OFS council, so at local or regional council levels, no civil or ecclesiastical incompatibility. Of course, being active in the local fraternity is a key factor. And there's a kind of a new nuance here for this last one, not holding a leadership position in political parties. Diane, would you go over this side?
When you're thinking about nominating someone, or if you are discerning whether or not you'd like to ask someone to nominate you, there are certain skills that I'm sure those of you who have served on councils before really help the council to work as a cohesive group. First of all, you want people who are passionate about their vocation. People who are lukewarm in their participation in the order really would not be able to take it, I don't think, on the National Council. You have to have a tremendous sense of commitment. Collaborative in nature. This is important, whether it's a local, regional, national, international office, because you really have to work with your brothers and sisters. And if your nature is not collaborative, if you like to, if you find when you really look at yourself that you're trying to do everything yourself without delegating, again, you might find it a little difficult to serve on the national level. Someone who is organized, that's important. Especially the counselors need to be very organized because they have a lot of responsibility as far as travel and visiting the fraternities, the regional fraternities. To be able to communicate in writing and orally and responding to emails and phone calls in a timely manner, I would say that, your communication skills are important also in the sense that you have a sense of what should be put in an email, what should be handled orally, perhaps over the phone. If you're the type of person that dashes out an email or, says something offhand, you have to really think about it before you do something like that. Responding to emails and phone calls in a timely fashion. If you've served on councils, or if you have had to ask something of your regional council or of a national counselor, and they just never get back to you, your trust is really eroded. And the purpose of communication is building relationships and building trust. And if you are not, if you're not living up to, at the very least, answering an email or a phone call, people are going to stop trusting you. It's a good idea for people to be proficient with the Microsoft programs, with virtual meetings, usually Zoom, with email technology. It's very hard to serve on the national level without some tech skills. You should have the ability to travel, both physically and time-wise. If you have a high-pressure job, it would be very difficult for you to be a national counselor because it really requires a lot of travel. If physically you can't travel, you might find that, during your term, you would say to yourself, oh my goodness, why did I say I would do this? I can't get on another plane. My feet hurt too much. You'd need to be familiar with our legislative documents and not just having read them once. All of us, I'm sure, try to live the rule. Knowing the constitutions and the statutes is a lot more than just living the rule. You really need to know, and I think there are a number of regional ministers on this Zoom tonight that could tell you that knowing the constitutions is very, very important. And there are so many more things. I think, as a counselor, whether it's on your region, on the local level or wherever, establishing a relationship and making the attempt to get along with other people is really key. We're not serving on a council as lone rangers. We are working so that the council succeeds in serving the national fraternity. And I think that's very, very important when you're thinking about people to nominate. If they're people that like to stir the pot, you really may not want to have them on your national council. I mean, other things. But if there are people who love relationship, who collaborate well, those are the people that will serve the national fraternity well. I don't know, Jane, there's not another slide. This is the only one, right?
I think that was it
Yeah,
for the
that's
most part.
Mhm.
Susan, can you go back one? Is there, oh yeah, I think that's it. And by the way, that was Diane Mendito, our National Vice Minister. And I didn't also introduce Susan Ronan, who is the National Secretary. Soon you will also be introduced to the other Executive Council members now. And at this point, we were thinking of just trying to go position by position and sharing some of the insights that we've learned about our duties over this term. So Susan, go ahead and go to the next one. So as national minister, of course, as any minister of a fraternity, local or regional, we're responsible for animating and guiding the fraternity. And seeing that the decisions made of the council are implemented and put into practice. Keeping people, the council especially, informed of the activities and presiding at the various chapters. So also for me, I have some difficulty. I'm still working full time, so I do not do a whole lot of traveling to the visitations and elections for the regions, but I delegate that responsibility to our national counselors, and I'm very appreciative of their role, and they'll describe that in a little bit. And also, as a National Executive Council, our statutes do say that we would meet some often in person, and because of my I can't travel as often as I'd like, so we restricted our meetings just to one time a year in the spring and then right before chapter. So we don't typically have a meeting in the summer, but those are things that a new council will decide once everybody is elected. You'll learn about people's skills, you'll learn about their time commitments, and a new schedule will be developed based on that new council. But that's just how we've done it now. As a national minister, we also look at appointments. We have many people willing to serve in volunteer positions for the order, either like for the database, for Tell USA, for the 1-800-FRANCIS, for our commission chairs and our committee chairs, the archivist. So we have many people serving the order because if we just relied on the National Executive Council, things probably wouldn't get done. So we're very grateful for those people who share their skills with the order. And so we oversee those appointments. We have to do something that's not always fun, and that's appeal of some of the decisions that are made, some of the difficult decisions that are made. And then also as National Minister, I serve as on the editorial committee for the TAL USA, and also as chair of the Duns Scotus Formation Fund Administrative Board. Those things could be delegated as well. So those are the things in a nutshell from the National Minister perspectives. So I'd like to turn it over to Diane to talk about the National Vice Minister position.
Okay, thanks, Jane. I've truly been enjoying serving as National Vice Minister and serving on this NEC. I think a lot of times the Vice Minister position is a little nebulous. The constitutions specifically say that the Vice Minister is to collaborate in a fraternal spirit and to support the minister in carrying out his or her specific duties. And depending on the minister, this either happens or doesn't. And because Jane is very collaborative in nature, we certainly are collaborating on most everything. Then to exercise the functions given to us by the council. Now, traditionally, on the NEC, the National Vice Minister has put together the annual report. Those of you at the annual report from the regional ministers, and then works with the national minister to put together the report that is sent to CHIOFs. Those of you who are regional ministers know that I've been in touch with you and will certainly continue to be in touch with you until we get all those national reports done. Some of you have done them already. They're wonderful. I read every one as they come in and get back to you with any questions that I might have. Of course, a vice minister's responsibility is to substitute for the minister if for some reason he or she cannot continue to serve. In my case, in our case, in addition to the annual report, then I always find it when I've served as vice minister, you find your little niche. So in my case, I serve as liaison to the Formation Commission. The next national vice minister might not do that. They might have an interest in JPIC or in some other area where they might be a liaison. Or also, I've continued with the Formation Fridays because that was a big interest of mine. That's not the national vice minister's job. So you sort of bring your talents to the position. And then I serve on the newsletter, the town newsletter editorial board. And I think that covers what I am doing. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Diane. And Diane also was elected as the alternate to the international counselor. So that doesn't have specific duties other than if the international counselor wouldn't be able to participate in an international chapter, then Diane would be available to attend. So, okay. Thank you, Diane. So the next one is National Secretary Susan. Would you go ahead and advance the slide, 2 more slides? That's fine. Okay.
Like that. Okay.
Thank you. Good job. Okay. Dear Susan Ronan, our National Secretary.
So being National Secretary has been one of the most amazing jobs that I've ever had. And I've been local secretary and local minister, regional secretary, regional vice minister. And this job is amazing and I love it. And as you can see and hear from this whole meeting so far, we collaborate very well. And all of us come with different gifts and different talents. So I worked in an office for over 40 years, but I didn't have Zoom when I stopped working. and I didn't have Google when I stopped working. So all of the wonderful people who are on this council are so extremely helpful in anything. So things that I bring into it, we all work together. This council is very collaborative. So the things that I particularly, that the secretary particularly does is I try to be very available and to everyone. Every single one of the secular friends that's going to call me or email me or whatever. And if I don't know the answer, I was a customer service manager for over 40 years. So anything that people come to me with, I try, if I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you. And that's part of what a secretary does. Also maintain the records. Well, when I got into this job, I thought I was going to have piles and piles of paperwork, but we don't have piles and piles of paperwork. We have a cloud. So we put all of our records and everything into the cloud. We're definitely into the 21st century. So whoever has this job, really, it's really important to be able to keep up with the technology that's happening all the time. We have a photo directory that the secretary keeps on touch with. So every time we have a chapter every year, we send out a photo directory so everybody can see what the other regional ministers look like and everything. And it's just like coming home to a family picnic every year. Maintain the email groups. So when we send out messages, we send them out to just the regional ministers or the regional ministers and the commission and committee chairs. So that's part of the Google, part of the job. And it's also, as a secretary, prepare correspondence that go for the visitations and the elections and update the database. Well, that used to be a big part of this job, is updating the database. But as most of the regional ministers know now, that's really done by the regions. But if you have any questions, you can certainly ask me and I can help. I've been trained very well by Miriam on how to take care of the database. So, so obviously the computer is information is really, really important in this job. And I serve as a liaison to the archives, and it's been my pleasure to be able to travel to St. Bonaventure University with Mary Frances Charsky and Linda Q for the past 2 years to go and visit all of the archives. They're the ones that have all of the paperwork, 247 boxes worth of paperwork from the 1900s and into the 2000s. And I'm going to liaison to the other commissions and committees, and whatever everybody wants me to do, I try really hard to get to know how to do them. I think this job is really a job of being available and being open and being tactful and open to correction and being humble. That's a very humbling job. I think that's about it.
Thanks, Susan. And it's been a pleasure being able to work with Susan the last 2 years. She keeps me organized. So anyways, it's sad that I was previously national secretary. So anyways, so now we're going to hear from Claudia Kozlerich, our national treasurer. We call her the national treasurer also, but she's the national treasurer. So Claudia.
As national treasurer, as you can expect, I collect all the money and pay all the bills. And every year we have to create a budget. So that has to be created and approved by the National Council. And within that budget, there are 3 commissions that have their budgets and 15 committees that have individual budgets. If you've ministers get a close-up look at all that, because they get to see all of the individual budgets that all rolls up into the national budget. So the first part of the year, I'm collecting fair share, getting the reports out to everybody, and then collecting it, getting it in and getting it into the bank. Most of our money is collected in the first part of the year because fair share. And with Diane doing such a good job on the annual report, everybody's paying their fair share on time. And so that comes in the first part of the year, and then you get done with that and you're budgeting. You're responsible for paying, making sure that everybody's expense reports are reimbursed and tracking expenses, make sure we stay in within our budget. I'm also on the Duns SCOTUS board because I'm national treasurer. That kind of blows over. So I make sure all the grants get dispersed that are approved. And I have voting power on that, or the treasurer does. And let's see, I handle all the certificates of insurance. That if somebody needs a certificate of insurance for an event that they're having, I request all those from the insurance company. So I handle all those. I don't know, kind of track how many programs we've got and who's got them, and who's, make sure that we get them paid for. On let's see, what else do I do? I also, not part of the National Treasurer's job, but I have I handle the Gospel to Life bookstore. I manage all the books, selling all the books except for those that are available from Smoky Valley. I also have been, for the last 2022 and 2026, been on the Q committee as the treasurer there, because there's a budget that has to be prepared for the quinquennial and presented to the National Fraternity Council for approval. We have investment accounts that have to be managed, and whenever we fund grants, typically we have to sell some of our investments to fund those grants. We have certificates of deposits that have to be maintained. We have two investments accounts, and then we have another. We have an account with Edward Jones where we keep all of our certificates of deposit. So there are investments that need to be managed. There's all of the accounting that has to be done, and the budget. And on top of that, you're part of the council, so you get to collaborate with everybody else and are part of all the decisions that the council makes. It's not an isolated position where you're just doing accounting. You are part of the council and vote on all the matters. And you get to answer emails from regional treasurers or regional ministers that might have issues within their region for accounting. I have kind of cycles. Sometimes you get a lot of emails and sometimes you don't. There are a lot of accounting questions sometimes. I think that's it.
Thank you, Claudia. And also you have a specific session about the treasury, the annual report for the treasurers on Saturday. So if those
Correct.
of you were interested in that and didn't get that information, put it in the chat and we'll make sure that you receive the link notice for that, or email Claudia separately. Thank you, Claudia. So next is the international counselor. So I invite Mary Frances Charsky to share a little bit about her roles and responsibility.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you all. One of the things that we all have in common on the council is that we pray a lot. We pray for each other and we pray with each other when we're together. And there's a lot of love that's shared. I know it sounds kind of corny sometimes, but really we do love and care for each other, except all of the members that we come in contact with, and believe that our brothers and sisters are doing the best they can. We try to encourage them to continue. With the international counselor part, there's a lot of communication. There's communication between CHIOFS, the international fraternity, and emails and announcements are sent to me and to Jane too, and we try to get them out to the people that would need to know, which is most of you, the regional ministers, and the UFRA people. And the one duty that's maybe you need to know a little bit more about is we participate in the general chapter, which is the International General Chapter. Now, some may think, well, this happens every year. No, it's every 3 years. That's the only disappointment, that it's only every 3 years. No, I'm kidding. It's every 3 years, and most of the time that international chapter is held in Rome, but it has been in other places, Hungary and in South America before. And in order to go to that, you have to prepare for it. Like this year, we prepared for priorities. What were the priorities that our national fraternity wanted to bring forward? And some of our wording was even copied and used by the international chapter. We also sent out the international statutes and got feedback and things like that. So we have that communication back and forth. And we also have contact with our counselor, who happens to be Anna Maria, who's going to be coming to the chapter for elections in September. We communicate with her. Before, we were communicating a lot with Dina, who is from Ukraine, because she was coming. So we try to provide a little extra hospitality for the international counselor that's coming, and the international friar that's coming. You know, if there's a chance to take them around a little bit, if they come a day or so early, we try to provide that hospitality. Mostly, I think there's a lot of communication among the NEC, as well as among the regional ministers when we need to get things out. And we try to do it in both English and Spanish, and if there's another language, we've tried to get that out too. And you know, just we forward messages like from Tibor Kauser and from the rest of CHIOPS when we need to. And one of the things that we all have in common is, and I love this, you're going to be familiar with this probably from your workplace, requests by the national minister. So if the national minister asks us to do something, a special project, we do that. And I'm sorry about that. I'm going to turn that off. So those are the things and some of the highlights that I'd like to make. And also we work with the UFRA. When we go to the international chapter and all, we work with not only the representatives from the 70 constituted fraternities and other emerging national fraternities, but also with the UFRA. And that's really interesting and fun. So I just wanted to let you know about that. And we also support the, you know, the friars. There's a set of general spiritual assistants that we have some contact with as well. And other than that, we just do the best we can, pray, love, communicate, and promote the vocations of the order. And that's about it, Jane.
Thank you, Mary Frances.
Thank you.
And when Mary Frances was saying about the national minister, their duties as assigned by the national minister, people bring, as we mentioned earlier, people will bring their different experiences. And so you will find that there may be something that they're just perfect for, even if their position isn't exactly assigned to that, if that responsibility isn't assigned to that position. I think the council works well together and we are willing to share responsibilities. So, and now I invite our 3 national counselors to share from their experience. So Donna Hollis, Joshua Malador, and Cheryl Fouget. I think Donna may want to go first, and I will highlight all 3 of them so we can share when they're ready.
All right. My responsibility as a counselor is to be the visitation and election coordinator. But all 3 of us, we build relationships with our regional ministers. And what's really helped is when we meet together on a regular basis, all 3 of us meet with our different regions periodically throughout the year, just to see how they're doing and to build up that kind of relationship and give some kind of support as well. We also maintain a lot of communication, and what I do is mainly communication. And trying to get the visitation and election schedule together means working with each regional minister and also working with the CNSA and the CNSA secretary. We all work together in getting this schedule together. And I'm always asking the ministers to give me a 1 to 2 year out date and time when you want to have your visitation and election, because there are 30 regions, and sometimes if I don't hear from you, I have, it's like it gets congested sometimes. Like this year we had 4 visits on the same weekend, and that should never happen. And we have 4 CNSAs, so we're working hard to more communication. I really need to know way ahead of time when you want to have a VNE, because it's not just up to me, it's up to the CNAs and when they are available to be a part of that, very much a part of that. And prior to the visits, what I try to do is encourage the regional ministers to go on our website and take out the forms that you need, which is under resources, one for visitation, one for election. And you probably already know how to do that. And there's a lot of information in there, and it guides you through what we'll be doing and what paperwork that you need. And also for we conduct our fraternal visitations and, regional visitations and regional elections. And we each have 10 different regions. So we are traveling constantly, which is fine. So you might want to figure out if you have the time to do that, and it's nothing that's hard to do, in the sense that it's something that you want to do. You want to go and visit your brothers and sisters and get to know them. And this is the way we really get to know people, is when we actually go to their region and get to meet the council along with the ministers, local ministers and members, which is the highlight, I think, for me of my whole ministry that I'm doing. And I'm not going to go into detail of how to do the do's and don'ts of things that I do, because it would take an hour. But I'm just kind of going over some things that you might want to know, or if you want to know more, we can always go through those details, because there's really a lot of detail after the fact of going to a visit. Then you've got your homework to do, your reports to do, and this and that. So I don't want to bore you with all of that right now, but the main things are relationship building, and communication is very, very important.
Thank you, Don.
Who's next? Which
Josh,
one?
you want?
He's muted.
Hi, y'all. I would like to say that if you were to look into our documents, you'll notice that the Constitution and our statutes really don't describe in any detail whatsoever what a position of a counselor in large is. It's very similar to what you brothers and sisters who are serving as regional ministers have with your counselors. It's a very important position, because the counselors go out, build these relationships with the regions, and then they're able to bring back to the National Executive Council what's really going on within the regions. And so that's what makes it so important. I think it was about 8 years ago, Jan Parker's second term, she began to call on the 3 counselor positions to take care of all of the visitations and elections generally. I mean, there's exceptions when she would go out, but mostly we're delegated by the national minister to take care of these 30 regions, and we take care of 10 each, as Donna pointed out. And so we do our best to build up a relationship with each of the 10 regions that we have assigned to us. And it's a delightful position, honestly. I think I would choose this national counselor position over being a regional minister any day of the year. I think it was much more difficult as a regional minister And I'm so proud of all you brothers and sisters that I have gotten to know who have taken on this mantle of leadership. A regional minister is a powerful position and very difficult, and I'm very proud of you for what you do. But I will say that as a national counselor, I found this to be more pleasing, more fulfilling than any position I've ever served since I've professed to the OFS in 30 years. And so I encourage everybody to consider that, especially you regional ministers. You've already done the hard work in visiting and electing brothers and sisters of the local fraternities. Try it on the national level. I'd love to see all of you put your hand up and say yes to that. Thank you.
Very good. I kind of echo what Josh is saying about being a minister and then doing the national counselor was a great shoe-in for me and a big awakening. And I thought, wow, this is not so bad, because the biggest difference I noticed, I was just recently telling a regional minister this, you're not wrapped up in the emotional side of maybe an issue that's going on in your region. So at the national level, you're kind of like sitting on the outside looking in. And I found that very helpful for me to not have all that baggage on me, and I could see things maybe a little bit more clearly what they were going through to help give advice. I would say that's the part of the counselor role that I really enjoy most, is helping people that are struggling with things. It's a good feeling inside to know you're helping a region, especially a minister, to grow in that area and to hang in there. You got this, being that cheerleader they need sometimes in the background. Being on the council, I've learned real quickly that you must be willing to build relationship at all costs. Even if there's a little ruffle or something, you need to work on the relationship constantly. We don't have that, but I'm just saying that's how important being on council is being able to build relationship. And if it breaks down, you need to be willing to work on that some more. I've learned that every voice is important, because if we don't know who we are, we don't know where we're going. We continue to continually try to build relationship with everyone throughout the country. And the family seems to be getting smaller because you get to know everybody in these little things, and it doesn't seem so intimidating. A year and a half after I've been into this role, it seems like it's gotten very close. I like that. We also have one counselor that is assigned to do what we call a meet and greet. We started that a few years back, and it's working out really good. And what we do, the NEC meets with a newly elected REC shortly after they have been elected. And we've had a lot of good feedback from that, and people enjoy that. They get to meet us and vice versa. And that way they don't have, they're not reluctant to hold back to ask us anything. And that's what we're trying to do, is open up that communication between the region and national, that they don't feel intimidated by it. Let's see, I think I tell you it's uplifting, be a part of the solving the issues. And this last one, I'm very grateful that I said yes to the Holy Spirit. I was scared to death, but I'm grateful that I discerned differently and that I said yes. It has not, it's been the greatest experience like everybody else. And I wish that everybody would take a chance at it, because it's something totally different, very rewarding, that you're a part of helping build the order up. Constantly trying to build everybody up, not tear them down. And it's very painful. It's very painful when we have to look at letting somebody go or be disciplined for whatever reason. That's not easy, So I hope that you will say yes and give it a shot. Thank y'all.
Thank you to Donna and Joshua and Cheryl for that. sharing. And next slide, please, Susan. So we will take time if people have questions, but we wanted to talk about the nominations process. So I'm going to invite Gigi and also Teresa to just kind of go over that for everybody. So Teresa Pratt and Gigi Gregory.
So Gigi's gonna go over the schedule and we'll answer any questions.
Okay.
Well, hello, everyone. It's so good to see all of your faces. As Jane said, I will be going over the nomination process. And Teresa will answer any questions. We both will. And as you see, the nominations are opened till April 30th, 2025. All nomination forms have to be submitted by then. Everything, the next 2 ways to submit nominations, everything is basically relatively easy. All you have to do is nominate yourself or nominate someone else. Everything is electronically done. We have everything has been going out. Susan's done a great job. And of course, NAFRA had a meeting on February 6th, and shortly after that, everyone in the NAFRA-L groups were sent the nomination forms, and on the nomination forms, there is a link. Teresa will be checking on the database when the nominations come in. I will go and make sure everything I'm just assisting her with that part, to make sure that everyone that is nominated, anyone that is and also the one that nominates has the qualifications to nominate. Then we will be contacting the nominees to confirm whether they accept the nomination, and the slate will be shared later in July, early July, and there will be nominations accepted from the floor at the elections chapter. That's pretty basically it. Teresa, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that with the deadline of getting your nominations in by April 30th, we will then start sending out in the middle of April, we'll start sending out the nomination. You will get a form if you've been nominated, which you respond to us. And then after that, you have to provide, if you accept that nomination, Gigi will work with you to make sure you give us your resume. And then those resumes will be collected and provided to the NEC. That's the only thing I'd add, unless there's other questions. So we are accepting nominations now. We've already had 7 people nominate people. And as soon as they come in, I check that they're valid to be nominated and that the person nominating was appropriate to nominate. And we collect the information, but no papers will go out until the middle of April, because nominations will keep coming in.
Thank you, Gigi and Teresa. So, Susan, why don't we go to the next slide? So if we have questions, we're going to stop the presentation, but if you have questions, you can raise your hand through the Zoom feature, and we can talk about the process or the qualifications questions. You can also enter a question in the chat feature. And if we run out of time, we will certainly be available to speak with people afterwards. And we ask you to pray for, as we prepare for the election. We do have a closing prayer at the end. Well, we might as well pray that now, and then we can ask questions afterwards. So Susan, go ahead and go to the next slide. So we'll pray. Almighty, most high and supreme God, Father, holy, just, Lord, King of heaven and earth, we give you thanks for yourself.
We ask
We
you
ask you to inspire members to respond to the call for service to the National Council. One more click, Susan. Inspire those who are able to animate and guide us by their example, their virtues, and prudent decisions, so that the gospel of Jesus and the spirit of St. Francis may come alive in our community. One more time. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. So if you stop sharing your screen, Susan. I also like to introduce, we do have our three commission chairs serving tonight with us. Lena Marr, Joe Mackley, and also Kathleen Malero. They serve in 3-year appointments in those capacities. And then we have several other people serving on the national appointed positions on the National Council here. And we just want to emphasize we work as collaboratively as possible. It's not just, the council is just not made up of one person. And so we enjoy learning more about each other and the gifts that we bring to the dialogue. And sometimes you will be surprised and what the Lord has in store for us in the different positions that we have. But it is an honor, and it has grown. I think we've all grown quite a bit in the position. And we look forward to letting the Holy Spirit lead us to elect the next council. Some of us are able to run again in the different positions, but again, we want to be open to the Spirit to see where God wants people and who should be leading the national fraternity next. It may be your turn. So do we have questions?
Jane, I see here in the chat, there are 2 questions that maybe we can answer right off the top. It says, first question here is, where is the elective chapter location? It's going to be held at the Bon Secours Retreat Center in Maryland. And detailed information will be going out to the regional ministers on that. And then the next question from a different person, will information be sent that we can send out to our regions? I think maybe the person means about the nominations forms. That nomination form that was sent by Susan could be forwarded to members of your fraternity, your regional fraternity. This went out on the NAFRA-L on February 8th. So you could probably download that, the National Elective Chapter announcement form, and share that with your regional fraternity for nominations, because any professed member can nominate.
It's also in the web, in the TAO that was just posted on the website the other day.
Okay.
And also there will be a mass mailing starting March 1st that everyone that is active and permanently professed members will receive a nomination form
from the database.
Good.
from the database.
Very good.
Diane, do you want to answer the next question
Oh, is there another question too? Wait a minute.
in the chat?
Let me see. What is the average amount of time, weekly, monthly? Well, the average amount of time really depends on the office that you are holding. National minister spends a lot of time. I, as the national vice minister, because of the different activities that I'm involved in, really spend a lot of time with I don't know if you could say, I mean, weekly, daily. Let's say you do something probably every day, and you have meetings at night, and you need to travel. And Now, somebody like Susan, I think, works all day, every day. She is set up like an executive secretary. Claudia is constantly on the job. There are times when, you know, maybe a couple of days where she's not doing treasury work, but again, she's not only being the treasurer to this organization, but she's working with the quinquennial, she's working with the Duns Scotus, keeping track of our investments and so on. The counselors are on the road all the time. You really can just block off. And I'm not trying to discourage you. You need to have a certain amount of commitment for this. It's really not something that you can say is an hour a day and you're done. You really sign up to live this experience for 3 years.
Thank you, Diane. When I put my name in for a national minister, I told my husband, who is not a secular Franciscan, but he is Catholic with Fourth Order. I said to him, "Oh, it won't take that much time." And
She was having a dream at the time.
I thought, oh, Jan and Mary put got everything organized. I said, oh, it won't take that much time. We have, Zoom meetings, stuff like that. And he says to me, Jane, that's another full-time job you're dealing with. So, I mean, part of it is who you are, what you bring to it. And I think you can put limitations on it. I'm not always the best at trying to limit things. And so I think that's just one of my flaws. But I think that there people, that's for the national minister position. But I think that Diane's comments were correct. There are a lot of people asking for different things. I mean, there are 10,000 members in the order in the United States. So, I mean, not everybody calls me or asks me to do anything. So don't worry, you're not going to get called by everybody or emailed by everybody. And, and I do delegate things, which is, part of the responsibilities because it's a council success. Everybody works together. It's not like I have to twist people's arm. They are willing to help. And so it really is beautiful in that way. But it is a commitment and it will take time. It doesn't have to be a 40-hour work week. But there are times when I don't get back to people. So that timely response to emails is really speaking to me, not to necessarily. But it is important to let people know you receive the email and you get back to them as quickly as you can. So I'll get better at that. So that's
I was in my cardiologist's office today and he was doing something on the computer and I was answering an email. And he said to me, I said to him, go ahead with what you're doing because I'm answering an email. He said, the trick is to learn how not to answer emails. And I said, that would not be me. I said, people have gotten to know that I answer emails immediately. And I said, that ship sailed a long time ago for deciding that I'm not going to be answering any emails. So, I hope he answers my emails. Hey, cardiologist, you need to hear from him.
And
so thank you for that question.
Communication
Ellen has her hand
now
raised.
it's so easy, to have your phone with you wherever you go. And I think, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it wasn't that easy. So those of us who never grew up with having a phone in their hand all the time, I love it. Hockey games, my granddaughter's hockey game. Yes, my phone is with me all the time. So, but that's because I'm retired.
Yeah.
Now, people who aren't, you have your own hours. You have your own office hours. When the regional secretary took over after I wasn't it anymore, she was a teacher. So she knew that she only could spend so much time on such and such a day. And she did that religiously. So you build your own hours. My office hours are 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And if I have to go out, I do. But because I work from home. But it's good. You do what you have to do.
And I think we all have to allow everybody to bring that. So thank you for bringing that up, Susan. It is, and so you're not always going to get immediate responses. So we are kind of like society with the email. We're expecting quick responses. So we have to be considerate and fraternal with each other, charitable with each other, that if people don't respond immediately, that we understand and that we allow them time to respond. So, Ellen, go ahead and share your question.
So I have two questions. The first one, because I experienced this in my region, is are we encouraging people to, the nominator, to talk to the person that they're nominating before they fill out the form and send it in?
It is advisable to ask them, yes, of course, you need to talk to the person that you're nominating. You need to make sure that they are qualified.
Okay.
So yes.
I just,
It's not required. I mean, if you know the person's background and you're familiar with them and you think they might need a little prodding from somebody else to have them say yes, nominate them and then they'll get a nomination form and hopefully they'll get some encouragement to say yes.
okay. And my second question is, so that it sounds wonderful that you already have 7 nominations. Is there a way that that's, once people have been nominated and then accepted, will there be a posting so so we're not sending in paperwork to you, Gigi, and Teresa multiple times? I'm just looking at it from an efficiency thing, but.
Well, beginning April 15th, Teresa will be beginning to notify the nominees.
But before that, we won't be saying anything, and before the rec sees if the NEC sees the actual slate, we certainly wouldn't be announcing any slates. So, there'll be doubles, and it's not a problem. We'll just work through it and keep track of everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. Chris.
How are regions assigned to national council? Is this by geography or some other method?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think, I think when we first started this, it was geographical. But before on the other term, but on this term, we're all 3 from the South. So I think what we did is that we looked at, okay, where do we live? What would be the most efficient for us to go? But that's something that's put together after an election. The 3 counselors get together and decide who's gonna go where. I mean, if you're living up north within, like we had when we had Dennis, he could do most of the northern parts, but that we just don't know who's going to be, doing that and what part of the country they're from.
So it's a fluid decision. So when the new counselors will be elected, then they will help to distribute the assignments. Thanks for the question, Chris. Mary Frances.
Well, this is really a response to Chris.
Okay.
When I was a national counselor several terms ago, we had 3 counselors. One of us took up and down the East Coast, which happens to be 10 regions. Someone else took the middle, and then someone else took the West. What was interesting is I think we got elected again. So we said, we got to change this around. So like, for example, I took all of the South, going from Florida and Georgia out to Hawaii and Guam, and someone else took it. It's up to the counselors and the NEC how they want to do it, and it could be just those counselors that do the visitations or elections, and it could be mixed. It's what works for the NEC, and as long as you know there's options, I think you're in good shape. You look at everybody's skills too and what they're able to do. Now I got to figure out how to lower this. Okay, here we go.
Now, obviously, the counselor isn't going to be able to visit their own region, right? So, I mean, so we do, so the makeup will really change. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next time. Fran, did you have your question? Yeah, you have your hand up. Okay.
Yes. You mentioned a Google link. Is that a Google form that's filled out and then submitted?
No.
Yeah, I can show the QR code at the end. I'll post it. I mean, I'll share the screen, and then people can take a picture of it and get to the link that way too. So we're just trying to use all sorts of technology this time. We may not be the most efficient at it, but we're trying. So
You might want to go on the NAPRA website and look at the TAO, since it's already posted, and there's information on there.
I happen to have the form open on my computer. Would you like me to share my screen so they can see it?
And why don't you put the link to the form in the chat also, Diane, if you have it handy?
Yeah, let
Then
me-
people can just copy the chat.
All right, let me do that.
I tried to put the QR code in the chat, but it wouldn't let me.
Let me get the link here. It's probably some big old link, but I'll put this in, I'll put it in the chat, and then I'll put the I'll put it up on the, I'll put the actual form up on the screen, because I think here comes the link. So now that, oh, wait a minute, no, wait. It has to go to everybody. Hang on.
One thing I'd like to say is you heard people talk about relationships and communications. And we didn't really say it, but vocations also is a priority and a responsibility for the NEC to see how we can cultivate and encourage others to cultivate vocations. So it fits in really well with the priorities that the National Fraternity Council adopted in 2022, vocations, communications, and relationships. And so it's even if those won't be the priorities during the next term, they are still such important things that are the main kind of responsibilities of each of the NEC members. And so thank you, Diane, for sharing what the form looks like.
Yeah, when I first looked at this, I was wondering, here at the top, it gives you the positions to be elected, but when you look down, you're going to have to fill out this form. If you're going to nominate 4 or 5 different people, you're going to have to fill out one of these for each. So you're going to do the nominee name, the email, the phone number, the fraternity. I guess if you don't have one of those things, you could, well, yeah,
No.
the regional fraternity has a star and the email has a star. The others are optional. Now, you're going to have to answer for each person that you're nominating what you're nominating them for. So if let's say I'm nominating Jane, I would put yes for national minister, but then no for everything else, unless there's a dog catcher nomination on here, and then I'll nominate her for that also.
I'll take dog catcher too.
Take the dog catcher, right? And then you're going to put your own name. Wherever there's a star, you have to fill that in, and then you submit it. It won't take it if you don't fill in the starred ones. So then you would open that form again for your next nominee. If you want to nominate someone for all the different offices, you're not going to do it on one sheet. So just so you are aware of that. And you should have the link now in your in the chat there. Okay.
Thanks, Dan. What other questions are there? Comments? Cindy. Hello, Cindy. I remember meeting you in 2022
Yes.
at the chapter. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you too. Nice to be here with everyone. I have 2 questions. I am our formation director for Queen of Peace region. I was elected, and I'm somewhat surprised not to see like Lana here. So I'm guessing that formation director for our national.
She's here.
Appointed.
Lena is here.
He's
Yep.
here, but it's not an elected position on the national level.
I was just wondering because I was elected for Queen of Peace region. And then my other question, and this was intriguing, we have 247 boxes of paperwork at St. Bonaventure University. Where is it kept? I have an advanced certificate, Franciscan Studies from St. Bonaventure University for 6 summers in a row. And that just intrigued me. Are we able to look at things from the 1900s? That would be really cool.
We'll have to get you connected with our national archivist, right, Susan? And I think she's she's here. Well, but she's here now on the call, but she doesn't. Yeah.
Yes, hi. Yes, I am the National Archivist. I'm sorry, your question was?
Oh, I was just wondering, I periodically still go out to St. Bonaventure University in Western New York State. I love it out there. It's like being immersed in Franciscan culture. I'm in the Queen of Peace region, but in Iowa. So we've only got three canonically established fraternities in Iowa, but there are 29 within the region. So Father David Courtier, when I was trying to get the friars to move into Iowa because we have no friars. He was my advisor out at St. Bonaventure, and I mentioned to him, well, why don't you guys come on out to Iowa? And he goes, you're the Franciscan presence in Iowa. But it's intriguing to know that we have information from the 1900s at St. Bonaventure. And I was just wondering the next time I'm there if I can visit our archives.
Well, we'll have to get you and Sharon connected, so that you can talk offline here. But I'm so appreciative for the interest, and I know Sharon has done a fabulous job with finishing the scanning and completing the list of all the documents there. So she is a huge resource. There is a brief in the next house, Susan, or the current
It's already
one.
on the website.
It's already on the website, a little
Yep.
brief about the archives.
Cool.
So-
Okay, we'll check it out. Thank you.
All right, good, good.
What other questions do we have? Well, you all are awesome. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you to the Executive Council and to all of the people who serve in appointed positions for your service. We look forward to receiving prayers for as we continue to plan and prepare for chapter. There are a variety of duties still at hand for us to tackle for the next 9 months. But we also will be hosting, as Mary Frances mentioned, the presider, who Ana Maria Rafos is from Peru. And we still don't know who the ecclesial witness will be, but one of the general spiritual assistants will come from Rome. And we will enjoy the visitation there. We thank the host region, St. Margaret of Crotona. I know Gary Burton's on the call today. So thank you again for saying yes to hosting it. And we look forward to that wonderful gathering. So thank you again for coming tonight. God bless you all. And we thank you for your prayers as we prepare for that election. So God bless everybody.
everyone.
Bye.